Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 20 comeback songs. For this list, we'll be looking at musical revivals from artists who had hit a dry spell, either due to commercial failure, personal struggles, or a self-imposed hiatus. Be sure to leave a comment if you think we missed any other memorable returns to music. Number 20, If I Could Turn Back Time, Cher.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way.
For over 25 years, Cher had been in the public eye, and naturally her career had seen many ups and downs. By the early 80s, her career reached a stopping point, which paved the way for a successful run as an actress. And then, poof! 1989 brought Fishnets, a new album, and the powerhouse single called If I Could Turn Back Time.
Too strong to tell you I was sorry.
Although the catchy tune never reached number one on the Billboard Hot 100, it became a staple of pop culture over the years and even earned Cher a cameo on Will and Grace.
If I could turn back time, if I could find a way.
Of course, she had another comeback hit almost a decade later with Believe, the comeback queen. Number 19, Walk This Way, Aerosmith featuring Run DMC. Unlike the other entries on this list, this song not only served as a comeback single for Aerosmith, but it also helped them break into the mainstream a decade earlier. Originally released in 1975, it first peaked at number 10 in the U.S., but it would take 11 years and a fiery collaboration with hip-hop stars Run DMC for this track to become an international hit. This new take on the old rocker revitalized Aerosmith's career after years of drug-related problems and a steady commercial decline. It merged Aerosmith's blues-based rock with Run DMC's hard-hitting rap, reintroduced them to younger listeners, and secured them 10 times more sales for their next album as they had for their previous one. Now, that's how you do a comeback. Number 18, I'd Do Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That. Meatloaf featuring Lorraine Crosby. Once an understudy of John Belushi on Broadway, Marvin Lee Aday, a.k.a. Meatloaf, released one of rock's classic albums in 1977 with Bat Out of Hell. 16 years later, the singer wasn't exactly a hot commodity of the music industry, but one monster ballad from Bat Out of Hell 2, Back Into Hell, changed everything.
And some days I pray for silence, and some days I pray for soul.
With a classic video and constant airplay, I'd Do Anything for Love reached number 1 in 28 countries, including England, where it became the longest song since the Beatles' Hey Jude to top the charts. Not a bad comeback.
But I'll never do it better than I do it with you so long.
Number 17, Not Ready to Make Nice, The Chicks. With 2 Diamond-certified albums released in the 90s, The Chicks rode into the new millennium on a sky-high tide. But when band member Natalie Maines made some critical comments in 2003 about George W. Bush, they were totally blacklisted by country radio and many fans.
We're saying the President of the United States.
Fast forward 3 years later, the country pop stars made a resounding comeback with this song, directly addressing the controversy and doubling down on their stance.
I'm not ready to make nice. I'm not ready to back down.
Although the track was still largely ignored by country radio, it peaked at number 4 on the Hot 100, won the Grammys for Song and Record of the Year, and eventually sold more than 2 million copies in the U.S.
'Cause I'm mad as hell, can't bring myself to do what it is you think I should.
Number 16, We Belong Together, Mariah Carey. If you're familiar with the 2001 film Glitter, then it won't come as a surprise to understand why Mariah Carey's career took a dip in the years after the film's release.
I didn't mean it when I said I didn't love you so. I should have held on tight, I never should have let you go.
Her 2002 album Charm Bracelet bombed with a capital B, but the diva recomposed herself and delivered a smash hit in 2005 with We Belong Together.
Who else am I gonna lean on when times get rough? Who's gonna talk to me on the phone till the sun comes up?
The slow jam about lost love became the second longest number one ever and put a cap on the lost time known as the glitter era.
And oh, baby, baby, we belong together, baby.
Number 15, Ordinary World, Duran Duran.
I turned on the lights, the TV, and the radio.
Bursting onto the scene as part of the so-called second British invasion of the early 80s, this synth-pop band was thrust into the mainstream primarily through a dominance of their innovative music videos on MTV. However, as the 90s rolled around, so did other exciting genres, and Duran Duran's popularity waned. That is, until this warm rock ballad was released.
Well, now bride's gone out the window, cross the rooftops, run away.
Initially leaked by their record label to a radio station, the track was instantly liked by listeners and released ahead of time, eventually peaking at number 3 and 6 in the US and UK respectively, and winning an Ivor Novello Award for songwriting. Sometimes it takes an ordinary song to give you that extraordinary boost. Number 14, Get Lucky, Daft Punk featuring Pharrell Williams and Nile Rodgers.
We've come too far to give up who we are.
8 years after releasing the album Human After All, Daft Punk enlisted Pharrell Williams and Nile Rodgers for one of the most successful songs of all time. Get Lucky was the standout track off the Grammy Award-winning album Random Access Memories and reached the top 10 in 32 countries.
Let's raise the bar, and our cause to the skies.
Almost immediately, Get Lucky became a classic cover song and source for hilarious parodies, but the track's funky groove never gets old. To cap off Daft Punk's phenomenal comeback, the Russian Interior Ministry Choir performed Get Lucky at the opening ceremony of the 2014 Winter Olympics.
We're up all night to the sun. We're up all night to get some. We're up all night for good fun. We're up all night to get lucky.
Number 13, Frozen, Madonna, the queen of reinvention herself. Though she would later go on to fill dance clubs around the world with Hung Up, it was the 1998 electronica smash hit that reminded the world why Madonna is a force to be reckoned with.
Love is a bird, she needs to fly.
After taking a break from music to birth her daughter and star in the film adaptation of Evita, Madge infused her newly found spirituality into her music, delivering this stunning operatic ballad about a cold and emotionless lover.
Give yourself to me.
It gave the Queen of Pop her first UK number 1 single in 8 years and peaked at number 2 in the US. It may have been a new musical direction for the pop star, but this was Madonna at her truest self. Number 12, My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark, Light 'Em Up, Fall Out Boy. These pop rock superstars were a staple in the emo movement of the 2000s, churning out 2 platinum albums and receiving a Grammy nomination for Best New Artist. However, in 2009, the band decided to go on a much-needed break to decompress after their 4th record, making a sudden return with this track 4 years later.
My songs know what you did in the dark. So light 'em up.
Recorded in relative secrecy, Fall Out Boy swapped their signature emo pop for a darker, more radio-friendly sound in hopes of reinventing their image from scratch.
So light 'em up. Light 'em up. Light 'em up. I'm on fire.
Whether this was successful or not is up for debate, but this song dominated alternative radio, spending 12 consecutive weeks in the top 20 of the Hot 100 and becoming the go-to anthem at several sporting events. Number 11, Can't Get You Out of My Head, Kylie Minogue. As a former Australian soap star turned chart-topping performer, Kylie Minogue knows how to make an entrance. But what happens when the door slams shut? By the late 90s, Minogue's musical productions became commercially challenged. However, she managed to reinvent herself Madonna style and released a highly addictive single called Can't Get You Out of My Head. With an eye-popping music video and unforgettable chorus, Kylie Minogue's comeback resulted in one of the best-selling singles of all time. It's all in the title. Number 10, Suspicious Minds, Elvis Presley. Following massive success and 2 years of military service, Elvis transitioned to movies and soundtrack albums in the early to mid-60s. This period resulted in a steady decline in commercial returns and a personal dissatisfaction by the king with his music.
Why can't you see what you're doing to me?
All that changed when he took the original version of this song, written and first recorded by songwriter Mark James, and put his signature spin on it, elevating it from relative obscurity to a huge hit.
We can go on together with suspicious minds.
Detailing a yearn for an ex-lover, this groovy rock and roll track hit number 1 in the U.S., his first in 7 years, and revived his success on the Billboard charts.
Caught in a trap. I can't walk on.
A testament to Elvis's Midas touch, it remains one of his signature songs to date. Number 9, Womanizer, Britney Spears. If there ever was anyone who needed a comeback following a turbulent period, it was Britney after the events of 2007 and early 2008. From shaving her head to losing custody of her children to being hospitalized, then getting placed under conservatorship, the Princess of Pop had quite a rough year or so.
Look at you, getting more than just a re-up. Baby, you got all the puppets with the strings up.
She was somehow able to put all of that aside to deliver this global smash hit.
Womanizer, womanizer, you're a womanizer, oh, womanizer, oh, you're a womanizer, baby.
Topping the charts in the U.S. and several other countries, Womanizer was her first number 1 single in nearly a decade and showed a more fun and #Free Britney. The critically acclaimed track went on to secure a Grammy nomination in 2010, her first nomination in 5 years. Number 8, Thunderstruck, AC/DC. Formed in 1973, Australian rock band AC/DC melted faces for years until the untimely death of lead singer Bon Scott in 1980. Even then, the musicians continued on with replacement Brian Johnson, immediately releasing the earth-shattering Back in Black, but had slight commercial difficulty through the decade. But AC/DC once again shocked the world in 1990 with a thrashing new album and energetic single called Thunderstruck. The opening riffs are now unmistakable and have inspired some of the best guitar performances the world has ever seen. Behold the power of Angus Young. Number 7, Still DRE, Dr. Dre featuring Snoop Dogg.
Cause when I frequent the spots that I'm known to rock, you hear the bass from the truck when I'm on the block.
This Compton-born rapper released one of the definitive West Coast rap albums with 1992's The Chronic, but left everybody without a dope beat to step to for years after. But just after the dawn of a new millennium, Dr. Dre teamed up with his old pal Snoop Dogg and released Still DRE, the lead single of his sophomore effort.
Still taking my time to perfect the beat, and I still got love for the street.
Truly a pop culture event, Dre took us on a ride with a relentless beat and reintroduced himself as one of the surviving kings of hip-hop. It's Still DRE.
Hit my boys off with jobs, no more living hard, barbecues every day, driving fancy cars.
Number 6, American Idiot, Green Day. Riding on a high of 3 multi-platinum albums in the 90s, These punk rock stars released their fourth studio album, Warning, to disappointing sales and a mixed reception. They, however, made a brash return to the music scene 4 years later with this protest song about misinformation and media propaganda.
Don't wanna be an American idiot.
The song reintroduced Green Day to the younger generation and was instrumental in the #1 debut of its parent album of the same title on the Billboard 200, their first career #1 album.
Welcome to a new kind of attention all across the alien nation.
American Idiot received 4 Grammy nominations and remains one of the most popular political songs to date.
Television like dreams of tomorrow. We're not the ones we're meant to follow. Boy, that's enough to want you.
Number 5, Maria, Blondie. In 1982, new wave hitmakers Blondie decided to call it quits after their 6th album underperformed. Around the same time, guitarist Chris Stein was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness. Over the next 15 years, some of the band members, including frontwoman Debbie Harry, would go on to establish solo careers to little success. After reforming in 1997, Blondie released this poppy rock song as their first material in 17 years.
Feels like she don't care. Smooth as silk, cool as air.
Written by keyboardist Jimmy Destry about his teenage desires, this track debuted at #1 in the UK, giving them their first chart topper in 19 years, and reached the top 20 in several other countries. With Maria, Blondie returned to the charts, looking, feeling, and sounding better than ever. Number 4, Smooth, Santana featuring Rob Thomas. In 1992, Santana's album Milagro peaked at 102 on the charts. But 7 years later, they reached #1 with this scorching collaboration with Matchbox 20's Rob Thomas. Released 1 week into summer, the opening lyrics set the stage for a complete conquest of radio airplay.
It's just like the ocean under the moon. It's the same as the emotion that I get from you.
Smooth ultimately spent 12 weeks at #1 and gave Carlos Santana his biggest hit since Black Magic Woman. While many rock legends his age disappeared years prior, the supernatural shaman continued to shine in smooth fashion. Number 3, Tears in Heaven, Eric Clapton. As one of the most brilliant guitarists of all time, Eric Clapton enjoyed tremendous success early in his career, but fell on hard times during the mid-'80s. After releasing the well-received 1989 album Journeyman, the musician had to cope with the tragic death of his young son. As a result, Clapton composed the heartbreaking Tears in Heaven, which allowed him to confront his pain in the best way he knew how.
Time can break your heart. Have you begging, please?
The song won 3 Grammy Awards, but Clapton later decided to close out a dark chapter in his life and remove Tears in Heaven from live performance set lists.
If I saw you in heaven.
Number 2, Hurt, Johnny Cash.
I hurt myself today.
After an almost 50 years in the music industry, Johnny Cash shocked the world by covering Nine Inch Nails' 1995 single Hurt. With arguably one of the most powerful music videos of all time, Johnny Cash offered a stripped-down approach as clips of his extraordinary career accompanied the track.
What have I become? My sweetest friend.
Just months after filming, both Johnny Cash and his wife would pass away. But this unforgettable comeback song reminded listeners of all they accomplished over the years.
I would keep myself. I would find a way.
Want more music content? WatchMojo produces an original podcast taking a behind-the-scenes look at all things music. The show provides authentic interviews with artists from all around the world, while also staying true to Watch Mojo's roots, with top 10 music banter thrown into the mix. What's the best advice Alice Cooper's ever given you? Looking back at the staying power, does it shock you?
No, we have naked pictures of the right people.
If you want exclusive interviews with award-winning artists, producers, singers, songwriters, check out Innersleeve.
Number 1. What's Love Got to Do with It? Tina Turner. The King may have already made an appearance, but no comeback list is complete without the Queen of Rock and Roll herself. After leaving a rocky marriage plagued by years of pain, Tina Turner worked tirelessly to get her career back on track, but struggled to achieve much success as a solo artist.
You must understand, the touch of your hand makes my pulse react.
With the release of this synth-driven pop track in 1984, she shot back into the spotlight, topping the Billboard Hot 100 and winning 3 Grammys, including Song and Record of the Year. At the age of 44, it made Turner the oldest female solo artist at the time to land a #1 single in the U.S. Sorry, LL Cool J, but you can definitely call this a comeback.
But whatever the reason, you do it for me. Oh, what's love got to do? It's got to do with it.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from Watch Mojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.